Welcome to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October. I'm going to give you some standout details to look out for. Please stay with me. I'll then share on screen the event chart right at the start of the week. That provides a lot of information to guide us through the following 7 days. Then as events unfold, I'll share those with you too. Then go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you can get the rest of year 2024 free. Totally unique to each person it's produced for. It'll give you searing insights of the influences to come, but also in my special package of 30% off, you can get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information is great value. Please see below for more. So the week begins with Mercury, the planet of communication and of accuracy and precision, having moved into the sign of Scorpio. Now Scorpio energy is deep, passionate and intense, and just as last week came to a close, Mercury was clashing with the modern ruler of the sign of Scorpio, which is Pluto. So it's possible that there have been some conversations going on recently, but right at the start of this week, I think for us all collectively, we could see a desire to tease into the open the exact meaning of what these were. But Monday can also be a phenomenally fortunate day. The Sun forges an amazing link with Jupiter. This combination, a trine, is one of astrology's strongest. Both in air signs, our conversations can have some kind of benefit to us, particularly because Venus and Uranus are in an opposition the same day. If we listen to our instincts around a hunch, particularly if we do want to speculate on something, we could end up accumulating. Of course, it does depend on each of us and our unique situations. But the Sun is going to be squaring up to Mars all this week, and however much we try to be diplomatic, Mars in the sign of Cancer can be a bit prickly and defensive, and there may be an emotional or family issue that will need to be looked at. Thursday is also a highly influential day. We have the full moon in Aries, but it does forge a cardinal grand cross. So it's opposing the Sun in Libra, of course, but squaring up with the position of Mars, and also a little more broadly with Pluto. So the moon's in the cardinal Aries, Mars is in the cardinal Cancer, the Sun in the cardinal Libra, and Pluto in the cardinal Capricorn. Cardinal signs are the executive signs of the zodiac. They possess authority. They want to get their own way. Now, an Aries full moon is a challenge to the Aries solar eclipse, which occurred in April. If you want to discover more about this event, please click on the link within this video and it'll take you to my Aries full moon deep dive. But essentially, something we set our hopes on then can come up to a culmination point and break through successfully, or we may need to realign. And that realignment may be around our home and family and emotional relationships, or around our professional ones. But remember that old saying, we can't keep all of the people happy all of the time. It's impossible. But also on Thursday, Venus makes its way into the sign of Sagittarius. Very much about higher truths, but also a love and appreciation of culture and also travel. But then, as the week draws to a close, we do have a very powerful link between Mars in Cancer and Uranus. And sometimes if we do look at things afresh, particularly around those home or family finances, we may be able to tease out some better economies. And also, if there is someone who's truly fascinating you from a romantic viewpoint, because Venus may be in that turbulent opposition to Uranus, which could see some tensions around shared resources, Actually, it could also see us make an impulsive move, which could pay off for us. And Venus forges a magical trine with Neptune from Monday through to Thursday. So if you do encounter someone quite suddenly, quickly, they really make your pulse race, but it also feels in some way energetically right, or even a spiritual connection, do listen to that. But at the heart of this week, that powerful full moon is really asking us to make sure that the balance between our relationships, where the sun is in Cancer, and what we need as an individual is well attuned. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the week. And you can see the sun is in the sign of Libra, just having entered the third decan of this zodiac sign. So that's sub-ruled by the gorgeous energies of Mercury, because that rules the sign of Gemini. So what we have an opportunity here is to use those energies in a speedier way. But you can see there's Mercury just at 0 degrees and 18 minutes, just into the sign of Scorpio. But the other luminary, the moon, starts this week in the very gentle and beguiling sign of Pisces, and you can see it is going to go into a conjunction with Saturn early in the week. This suggests that there could be some issues that have been sort of simmering in the background that could come into the open as the week goes on. I'm going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. Please stay with me for them. Welcome Aries to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. So Aries, the big event this week undoubtedly is the full moon in your sign. If we go back to the 8th of April 2024, we had the solar eclipse in Aries. That was really pushing you to manifest your individual hopes. If there have been ongoing strands that have really excited you to invest all of your energy in them. But of course, because Saturn and Neptune have been in a very psychological part of your situation, it may not have been always completely easy to keep your foot to the floor. We've also had Jupiter move into Gemini since then, now in retrograde, and Pluto moved into Capricorn in its retrograde on the 2nd of September. So your professional situation and your communications around it may be a big part of what is occupying your thinking at this present time. But what you're really wanting essentially from this full moon this week is to feel recognised, appreciated, respected. And if you are feeling the love, particularly when it comes to your home and family life, that's going to be a huge asset. But if you don't feel so seen or heard professionally, that may be where you want to make a change. And there's little doubt that with Venus moving into your sister fire sign of Sagittarius on Thursday, that can see you wanting to break free of situations that aren't working for you. It can be very much a truth seeker for you. Now there is that very compulsive opposition between Uranus and Venus earlier in the week that could tempt you to splash some cash and perhaps be a little bit more spontaneous. And certainly the link between the Sun and Jupiter earlier in the week suggests there could be a very constructive conversation, perhaps around a contractual matter. But as the week draws to a close, I feel that your ruler Mars in your 4th house, forging a link to Uranus, suggests if you did do something like declutter your home, you might be quite surprised by how much money you could generate by selling off unwanted items. So whether it's your basement, the garage, the attic, the cellar, those items that you're not fundamentally using, that aren't part of your daily life, those are the things that you can free up, because Uranus can be about space. The second house for you can be about money, but Mars can be very much about the home. But also if you are wanting to make some physical improvements to your abode, and there have been some inhibitions, looking at a situation in a fresh way or talking to another contractor could also tease a solution into the open. Have a great week, take care, and goodbye. Welcome Taurus to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. So Taurus, your ruling planet is Venus. Venus is going to be moving homes this week, but not before it goes face to face in the heavens with Uranus in your sign. Now Venus has been activating your 7th house, which has given you potentially the ability to reconnect to someone special, to bring about greater harmony in an existing relationship. But if you feel that that's not really working for you in terms of a long-term commitment, and it doesn't have to be a romantic commitment, Uranus being in the electric opposition with Uranus exactly on Monday could push you in some ways to seek your liberty. And with Venus moving as the week goes on Thursday into your 8th house, that's really saying to you, are you really truly committed and invested or not? If you are, a relationship could take that extra step forwards to becoming much more intimate and long-lasting. If that's not the case, Venus's opposition to Uranus earlier in the week could see you, as Venus moves into Sagittarius, actually want to reclaim control and agency over your situation. But of course, we also have that full moon this week. And for you, the full moon occurs in your 12th house, which can be a little bit complex. The 12th house essentially is the part of life that's to do with endings, but endings in terms of the cycle. So if you feel that your cycle of full moons means that this particular one wants to make you more aware of the things you need to release which aren't working for you. Now it's possible back in April you did become much more conscious of who is not truly for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean on the back of that solar eclipse that was personal relationships. It could have been to do with your professional situation, and some of these issues can come up again if you work in an environment that's toxic, that's not very trusting, where there tends to be a lot of office politics, or you don't feel very validated. This full moon is going to ask you to take some action, but the action you take can be very dynamic. And the reason for that, Taurus, is Mars, because Mars is intersecting with the position of the full moon, but also broadly in an opposition with Pluto. And Pluto, because it starts this week in direct motion, is going to help you to rediscover your voice, but also stick to your principles. So if there's something that you feel someone's being unfair or unkind about, you're much more likely to find your way of articulating your response to it. The complexity of the 12th house is people don't always obviously show their opposition. So watch out for those people who tend to be very pleasant to your face, but can be a little bit sneaky behind your back. So make sure also with the Sun in the 6th house that you're making sure, particularly with Mars squaring the Sun in the 6th house this week, make sure that you're not rushing any practical task that someone then can find a way to criticize you for making a mistake or having an oversight, because perhaps you're trying a little bit too hard. But there's no doubt about it, the gorgeous alliance between Venus and Neptune this week suggests if there is a person that you do feel a very special connection to, You can really celebrate that with one another. And perhaps what's going to happen with Mars linking to Uranus in your sign right at the end of this week, if it is someone who's been creeping up on your senses bit by bit, that combination can give you the confidence to be a bit braver about taking that step forwards to let them know just how you feel about them. Have a great week, Taurus. Take care and goodbye. Welcome, Gemini, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. So Gemini, Mercury, your ruler, moving homes right at the start of this week is particularly important because Mercury moving through Scorpio for you evokes Mercury's rulership of the sign of Virgo. How come? Well, the host, Scorpio, is very much about depth, getting beneath the surface for sure. But for you, in terms of your house overlay, house 6 is very much to do with the precision, the practicality, the refinements that the energy of Virgo asks us to engage with. So if there are some things that you can change, small but important adjustments, and with the deep thinking that Scorpionic energy can bring to us all, that can be a great asset to you as this week goes on. The other thing I'm really excited about for you is the link on Monday between Jupiter. Jupiter may be in a retrograde now, it's true, asking you to think a little more deeply about some of your objectives and perhaps also find the inner resources to meet some of those hopes and goals and wishes that you've set yourself since Jupiter arrived with you in late May. But it forges a delicious link with the Sun. And despite Jupiter's retrograde, this can just buoy you up, give you just that little bit more self-assertion and confidence that what you're doing can work out. But there is an electric opposition between Uranus and Venus on the same day. It's possible that you may get a hunch about something, and the hunch can come into your thinking very quickly, and you could be tempted to do something about it quickly too. It's just that because Mars, the planet of desire and impulse, is in your second house of money and clashes with the Sun this week, if you did do something in terms of being more speculative or something that's a bit more risk-taking without analysing the prospects too much first, you could live to regret it, even down to having a slice of buyer's remorse if you decide to treat yourself to something really lush. But of course, at the heart of this week, we do have the full moon. The full moon for you is going to give you some choices, Gemini. It's almost as if you're at a little bit of a crossroads, certainly around certain friendships, connections, group activities, or perhaps around your love life. But because of the energy of Mars and Pluto, which feeds into this event, you're being asked to guide yourself around the more joyful parts of life, the more entertaining and pleasurable sides of life, by your values. If you really tune into them, they will guide you to make some smart decisions, as can Venus, which moves on Thursday into your opposite sign. Venus here can help you to see all sorts of relationships in a more peaceful light. You may not necessarily think that all of the people that you've been considering with the full moon are right for you or who you want to spend time with, but if there is going to be a separation, Venus here asks you to try to do it in as gentle as a way possible. But if there are some very constructive relationships, they may not be perfect, that you do want to work on, particularly with Venus forging a really lovely link with the point of destiny, the North Node. There could be someone that you're going to connect to over the next 2 or 3 weeks who could bring some true magic into your life. Also, as the week draws to a close, you could have an electric impulse and instinct around the financial matter as Uranus angles to Mars. And if you have that proverbial light bulb moment, because of your mercurial nature, you have the ability to pivot quickly. Some people would be more ponderous. They'd want to think very carefully about all their options. But you have that part of your nature which can flex very rapidly and also have the confidence to go for things in a quick way too. So something could come up towards the end of this week which does prime up a moment of excitement. It could be using an old skill, talent, or an object, an item in a fresh way, which works out splendidly for you. Have a great week, Gemini. Take care and goodbye. Welcome, Cancer, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. On Monday, we do have two very influential aspects that are competing for dominance, but also Mercury, the planet of communication, has moved into a much more playful, self-expressive part of your situation. If home and family matters have been taking precedence of late, that's not to say they won't continue to do so with this week's full moon, but I feel that Mercury in Scorpio can just help you to just inject a little bit of levity into proceedings. Also, there's a great link between Jupiter and the Sun. If there is something that you're wanting to change or express that is a little bit more delicate, that combination can give you the confidence to try. In fact, as this week goes on, Mars, which has been with you assertively since the 5th of September, is pushing to be heard, and that's around how you feel about things as an individual. So although you can be very mindful with the full moon of how people feel at work or professionally or worldly interactions, or the Sun in sort of how it is at home or within the family, Mars could see you deciding to take a step forwards, and perhaps with that energy of Mercury, perhaps to sweeten the message, you could express yourself with a greater amount of assertion and confidence. There's also, at the start of this week, an opposition between Venus and Uranus. That could mean that a surprise invitation or a surprise connection can light up your week. If there is someone who's beginning to engage, then the link between Venus and Neptune in the early part of this week is truly special. However, that full moon is at the heart of the week, and it's a complex full moon, to be honest. It just depends on what type of Cancer person you are. Many Cancer people will try to avoid outright confrontation. In fact, your way of dealing with things can be to withdraw a little bit, and some people can see that as actually quite challenging. But if something does need discussing this week, I think you're going to be much more likely to say it as it is. Also on Thursday, along with the full moon, we have Venus moving into the sign of Sagittarius. Now that for you is house 6. If some of your concerns are about the professional sphere, it could be by bending a little bit from your position and agreeing to do something to support someone in a more practical way, that can create some kind of a piece of goodwill and clear a logjam. But in a more personal sense, I think Venus moving into the 6th house suggests that your love language could be expressed very helpfully over the next few weeks by more thoughtful, practical gestures. But by the end of the week, although the square between Mars and the Sun is quite challenging this week, Mars actually ends up in a very positive link to Uranus. Uranus is in the part of your situation to do with your future. And if all this energy, these competing vibes this week, make you feel that you can't move forwards in the current situation, I think what the angle between Mars and Uranus is going to encourage you to do is to thrust out on your own terms, doing something completely fresh and different. Sometimes in life we can't repair things. We don't have the opportunity to work with people who will flex. They're very entrenched in how they are. So whether it's an employer, whether it's a relationship that isn't quite working, if you feel that you've tried everything you can to try to alter it, by the end of this week, Mars in that sextile with Uranus can make you much more open to doing something that's much more invested in what you really need as an individual, is much more independent minded, but could also see you move to the door marked escape if you are feeling too controlled and penned in by something that just isn't working. Have a great week, Cancer. Take care and all the best. Welcome, Leo, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. If we cast our mind back to the 8th of April and the solar eclipse in your sister fire sign of Aries, that was pushing you to widen your horizons, to be more daring. But since the 2nd of September, when Pluto rewound back into your sector of obligations, it may have been a little trickier to actually focus on the things that were giving you that sense of excitement. The full moon this week brings all of this to a crescendo. If you really feel hemmed in and you feel that circumstances are against you expressing the more dynamic part of your nature, then that's going to be something you will need to look at, because Mars in your 12th house feeds into this full moon, suggesting if you have been keeping some frustrations to yourself, particularly since the 5th of September when Mars moved into this area, they could explode into the open on the back of this event. But you know, the week starts brightly with the Sun and Jupiter, despite its retrograde, in a glorious alliance. Perhaps there's someone outside of your circumstances who sees what you're trying to do and is a really major cheerleader for you. They see that this is really exciting for you. Also, there's an opposition at the start of this week between Uranus and Venus. And if you are trying to do something a little different with your resources, perhaps someone close to you maybe isn't against what you're trying to do, but perhaps they're a little fearful and their objections could come into the open. But by the full moon, whatever the situation is, there will need to be some frank discussions. And because the Sun's in house 3, everyday conversation, and the moon's in the 9th, that's your point of truth. You have to articulate how you really feel. Now, if things are going really well for you, the energy of this full moon is unlikely to show itself in the same way. It's really just if there are people holding you back through being too reliant upon you, or in some ways having agendas that they're not openly expressing. But if things are going in an exciting way for you, the next couple of weeks could see some kind of stepping up, extra traction, and with Venus moving into your 5th house, if you are doing something that's more creative or imaginative, or there is someone who's gripping you from a romantic viewpoint, Venus moving into your sister fire sign of Sagittarius is seriously exciting. The only other thing I'd say to you, Leo, don't underestimate, if you do feel a little stuck with things, just how much inner resources but also experience you have from the past. But as Mars angles to Uranus at the end of the week, it may be that if you take a fresh look at something in a slightly different way, that can unlock a solution. Have a great week, take care and goodbye. Welcome, Virgo, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data. If you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. It's a truly exciting start to the week for your sign in particular. Mercury, the planet of communication and your ruler, relocated as last week came to a close. Yes, it moved into the perceptive Scorpio, but for you this can see an increase in the exchanges of information, emails, text messages, but most of all, even as things speed up, your ability, which is quite legendary, to look at things in a very precise way is added to that very deep and perceptive energies of Scorpio. So even quite innocent conversations over the next couple of weeks can contain snippets of information and data which could prove to be very valuable indeed. But also at the start of the week, there's a glorious link between the Sun and of Jupiter. Jupiter may be retracing its steps through to the 4th of February next year, but it does retain its location in your sector of success in terms of your worldly interactions. The Sun's in the part of your chart to do with everyday money. What's not to like? This combination can make us feel more buoyant, more hopeful, but equally it can give us more self-confidence. Now, the fact that Jupiter's retrograde is just saying not to be overconfident, not to overstate your situation. But if you can explain where you're coming from with the help of Mercury and that very upbeat, lucky potential combination between the Sun and Jupiter, it can be a sparkling start to the week, which is blessed also by the opposition between Venus and Uranus. That brings a sense of even greater added excitement. Venus has been lighting up your personal communications over the last few weeks. She is going to be moving later this week into an area which is much more to do with your home, emotional and family situation. But this opposition to Uranus suggests that some kind of suggestion can be made. It could be social, it may be to do with a journey. If you are looking at a new mode of transport, certainly Mercury having moved to join with Venus briefly could really amp up your desire to get just what you want. But that brings us to the heart of this week and that full moon. The full moon for you occurs in the 8th house. This is where we can be most devoted, most attached, most invested, but it also can be where things make way. It can be a sector of transition. Because of the role of Mars since the 5th of September, it's been pushing you to take a longer term view of your situation. If someone is proving rather possessive, jealous, cloying, trying to limit your moves, particularly in terms of a friendship, could be romantically, the opposition between Venus and Uranus and this full moon could see you push back in quite a mighty way. And someone may find that you can be a lot more assertive than they may appreciate. Ironically, if you're connecting to someone who really is making you swoon, the link between Venus and Neptune in the early part of this week can really create the potential for a very special connection. But then Venus moves on Thursday also into your 4th house. If you are wanting to make some preparations for people coming to stay over the Christmas holidays, the next few weeks is an ideal time to get the paint charts out and to make some aesthetic upgrades. But Venus moving into the 4th house can also see us thinking very carefully at an emotional level about what we want from our relationships. But also, because Venus rules money, you may invest some money in your property beyond the decorative cycle. But as the week draws to a close, despite the intensity of that full moon, and you can check out my deep dive full moon video where you can get your perspective in a more detailed way, as Mars links to Uranus at the end of this week, if there is part of you that really feels that you do need to do something very different and do something very much on your terms, that will give you a lot of encouragement to seize the moment. Welcome Libra to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, Sun or Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. There's a lot going on at the start of this week, some of it incredibly positive. The Sun in your sign is angling to Jupiter in the part of your chart to do with expansion, travel, higher hopes. Now Jupiter is in its retrograde. This doesn't intrinsically mean bad luck. What it means is we have to dig deeper within ourselves to find the opportunities rather than necessarily thinking they will come from outside. But they still could do, but it's possible that some knowledge you have or a way of looking at things can actually bring a completely fresh and dynamic dimension right to the start of this week. Also, your ruler, Venus, is in an opposition with the electric energies of Uranus. It's possible, therefore, that that fresh look or that extra information or knowledge you gain could be to how you use your resources. And one of the great things about Uranus is it pushes us to change the status quo. Sometimes the status quo works really well, and if we do decide to change it, there is an element of risk. But I feel the combination of these energies is certainly very fresh. And ironically, with Mercury moving to join Venus on, or as the end of last week occurred, so starts this week in your second house, something you have been working on that's perhaps new and a bit more imaginative can start to gain traction and look very hopeful. But if we cast our minds back to the solar eclipse of last April, that was very much about your relationship hopes and prospects. How have things been developing since then? If someone really important has entered your life or your relationships have improved, you've certainly been benefiting from that. But if you're in a situation professionally, in a friendship, or within your family where you still don't feel that you're getting the recognition for your natural strength of tuning into others and being very supportive, then this could be a full moon at the heart of this week, which arouses within you that part of your nature that is very inclined towards desiring justice and fairness. But the disruptor is Mars, because Mars since the 5th of September has been giving you a lot more self-confidence, assertion and desire to raise your profile. So if something is out of kilter, you're likely to find your voice over the next couple of weeks, whether someone else likes it or not. So it does depend on your unique circumstances, because Venus then moves also on Thursday when the full moon occurs into an area where if you need to choose your words with care and you need to say something, your natural diplomacy actually can really come to the fore. But despite that, Mars in that very prominent location does link to Uranus towards the end of this week. And if you really are in the mood to do something very fresh, very bold, and perhaps even rather courageous when it comes to your career or long-term finances, do you know, this could be the time then, rather than weighing everything up, really assessing your options, more taking direct and very strong action could pay off you really handsomely. Welcome Scorpio to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. If you cast your mind back to the eclipse of April, that was pushing you to reform some pretty fundamental parts of your existence, perhaps your approach to health, fitness, diet, nutrition, the type of work you do, your obligations and responsibilities. None of these areas appear to be particularly sexy, but they are fundamentals. This week's full moon is going to give you an opportunity to review how far you've come. It's just that since the 2nd of September, when Pluto, your modern ruler, returned to Capricorn, and on the 5th of September, when Mars, your traditional ruler, moved into your 9th house of freedom and adventure, you might have started to push back against your own dedication and discipline that you'd been showing since April the 8th. And if you are still feeling a bit hedged in and a bit limited, all of that reaches a high point this week. And part of the reason for it, Scorpio, is that Mercury has joined Venus in your sign. So as you come into this week, Venus forges an exact opposition to Uranus. Uranus has been a very provocative influence for you since March 2019 around relationships. Someone left a note under a video saying he doesn't want Scorpios to have relationships. That's not true at all. It's all down to what you want, not what I want. It's just that Uranus can, when it's on the 7th house, emphasize our need for freedom and independence. But also it can create dazzling connections very unexpectedly. And the opposition between Venus and Uranus and Mercury having joined your sign suggests that what makes you special can actually draw something or someone to you this week in a really exciting way. If you are getting to know someone and the vibes are good, Venus also links to Neptune in the start of this week in a really special way. So if there is a person who goes beyond any fear you might have of losing your independence, or is giving you the encouragement to get closer, that really looks sweet. But the key is that Mars, which started to push you to be a little more outspoken from the 5th of September, that comes in to challenge the Sun this week in a big way. But ironically, your two rulers, by the time of the full moon, are broadly in an opposition. So we have a quadrant of different competing energies. So all that virtue that you may have worked towards earlier in the year is challenged by the more psychological energies of the Sun. And if you are feeling a little bit disengaged from something, or you're not really feeling at work, for example, particularly appreciated, the more rebel rousing energies of Mars, but also of Uranus, because they come together towards the end of this week, can really see you saying no more. And that's why having Mercury move into your sign is so significant. It moves you into the moment. But ironically, if you have been working very hard on changes to the basics in your life and you're wanting to see an outcome, Venus moving into Sagittarius on Thursday can trigger an improvement in your finances, which can absolutely delight you. Astrology is not one-dimensional. First of all, it depends on our unique circumstances, and every Scorpio person, be it by sun or ascendant, will have completely different charts. So when influences occur, it may be broadly connected, but there will be acute differences. So as you reflect on this week, if there is something that's out of kilter in terms of your physical input and how it makes you feel in terms of your emotional and spiritual world, this full moon pushes you to make a change to get a better alignment. But you're also given the tools to step into your own power in a much more assertive way. And that's really what's so exciting about Mars's sextile to Uranus by the end of this week. Welcome Sagittarius to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package at 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. Venus, the planet of love, but also of money, arrives in your sign on Thursday. That's a great event. It gives you an opportunity to really invest in your personal presentation. If you are a dedicated follower of fashion, you may want to snaffle yourself some new fashion items. But also Venus moving into this area could move you more into the moment when it comes to relationship matters. And if there are tensions in your relationship, particularly a close romantic one, Venus's opposition with Uranus in the early part of this week could give you a desire to separate yourself from a situation that just isn't working. There's another bigger metaphor here, astrologically, Sagittarius, because your ruler Jupiter may be in retrograde now, but of course it is in your sector of relating, and it does forge a stunning alliance with the Sun at the start of the week. So if there are friends or a group of people that you're getting on really well with, the comfort and support that they provide for you can be something that gives you the confidence to make some kind of transition. But the full moon, which occurs at the heart of this week, really says that you may have some big decisions to make, because it goes along the axis of your 11th, Libra, and 5th moon houses. If we go back to the solar eclipse of the spring in the northern hemisphere and of the autumn in the south, that on the 8th of April was pushing you to demonstrate how talented, creative, imaginative and fun, but also giving you the desire to up your social interaction or your love life. It's just that that had to coexist with the more resistant energies of Saturn in a potentially rather limiting area in terms of your emotions. If you've been able to overcome that, someone may have come into your world who's truly significant, but equally there could be a change in of priorities with this particular full moon, because however much you like someone, however much you're drawn to them, it could be that with Mars and Pluto in the mix, you're finding someone in your social circle absolutely grippingly attractive. But are they right for you in terms of your values? But that big attraction is possible. And also by the end of this week, as Mars in your 8th house, very much to do with desire, links with Uranus in your 6th house, practicalities, a fresh approach to your resources, particularly investments or shared resources, trying something completely different, could, if you have the confidence, pay off spectacularly well. Welcome Capricorn to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. Whether you want to put the focus on your home and emotional situation with the full moon in your 4th house, or your professional world, but how it feels, this week's lunation certainly asks some big questions. Not least because Mars in your sector of relating and Pluto in your own sign are creating a more complex dimension. It's possible that you may feel that someone is not tuning into your needs, not supporting you, not understanding how you feel about things. And this story may have been running since last April. But if that is the case, it can all bubble up to the surface at the heart of this week. And part of the reason for that is that Venus, the planet of relating, and Uranus, the planet of rebelliousness, are in an opposition. So you could find yourself speaking out, even to someone you're very fond of, if you feel that they're not respecting your boundaries. Because ever since the 2nd of September, when Pluto returned to your sign and Mars on the 5th of September moved into your 7th house, you have felt much more strident about protecting what you need to do for you as an individual. And that's quite right. And although you are someone who can be very orientated towards your goals, success, stability, and making progress in your worldly connections, if all those other parts of your existence aren't really functioning like you need, that could be affecting your productivity. It could be affecting your success. So if there is someone who's not giving you the backing, the encouragement, or acknowledging what you do for them, this could be a week when you do find your voice much more volubly. Also, because Mercury has moved into the part of your situation to do with your future and your connections to others, your network can help to start feed into the situation. But if a relationship in a more romantic dimension isn't really working for you, as this week draws to a close and Venus moves into your 12th house, it's certainly going to give you lots of food for thought. The other person needs to listen to what you're saying, otherwise really you're taking a watching brief and really making potentially a big binding decision of what to do. Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package at 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. If we cast our mind back to the solar eclipse of the 8th of April, that gave Aquarius people, along with the North Node, an opportunity to showcase ideas. Now, because Aquarius is sub-ruled by Mercury, the second decan, and Mercury is also exalted in Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign, it was a natural solar eclipse to really turn up the volume when it comes to enthusiasm, passion about your great ideas. But have they been heard? This week's full moon is an opportunity to discover if they have. But if you're feeling they haven't, the fact that Mercury has moved into the most visible part of your chart and joined up with Venus in the first half of this week, that gives you a little bit more confidence to speak up for what's important to you. Now, it's possible you could have an interview, do a presentation, reach out to a potential client. But in an ongoing relationship, if there has been a sense that however much you've been trying to reach into situations with all these brilliant ideas and solutions, and it has fallen on rather cool or has received a rather cool reception, the fact that Mars feeds in along with Pluto to this full moon suggests that if you have had some deeply held resentments, I feel that you are going to bring them to the surface and articulate them, but you can do so with skill, because once Venus moves into Sagittarius on Thursday, your ability to be friendly and yet pointed is definitely going to be emphasized. So even if inside of you it's like a furnace of frustration because all this energy and effort that you've put in isn't really seeming to change the fundamentals in your life, do keep the faith. Having Mercury and Venus initially in such a visible area can help you. It is true that Uranus and Venus come into an exact opposition on Monday, and perhaps if in your work you're feeling that someone close to you is not really as engaged or interested as you would like, that could be frustrating. But just know also on Monday that there's a fantastic link between the Sun and Jupiter. And even though Jupiter is retrograde, if there is something you're really still deeply excited and invested in, keep believing in it, because essentially Jupiter is about belief, particularly through its rulership of Pisces. And of course, the 9th house where the Sun is very much about the Jupiterian energy of Sagittarius, about optimism, confidence, expansion, and so on. So that is actually a sensational aspect, priming you up to raise potentially some tricky issues, or to go again to try to prise open the door of opportunity. And Venus's move into Sagittarius just means that that friendly approach can render results. But also at home, at the end of this week, Mars has been in your 6th house since the 5th of September, perhaps giving you more stamina. Now, Mars in Cancer can be about doing physical changes to home. If you are making some changes that make your place work that much more efficiently, maybe Uranus is saying to Mars at the end of this week that if your space isn't quite as good as it is, could you move the furniture around? Could you create more light? Could you perhaps do without some items that you're not physically using all the time in order to help the process? Or you could take a fresh look at an old stuck issue and find a solution. So actually it can be a very exciting week, but any deeply held frustrations will need to be articulated, and articulated in a powerful way, but use the skill of Mercury and Venus, and latterly in the week the charm of Venus, to make your point. Welcome Pisces to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 14th of October for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This information will give you searing insights to guide your moves future forwards. Please see the link below for more. Your two ruling planets of Jupiter and Neptune are right at the heart of the action. On Monday, Jupiter forges a sumptuous link to the Sun. The Sun's in the part of your situation to do with shared resources, investments, long-term financial planning, but critically also transformations. But Jupiter's in the part of your chart to do with home, family, emotion. Now Jupiter is in retrograde, suggesting through to the 4th of February there could be some deep thinking around where you live and also your emotional needs. But that link suggests around the property or financial matter that some kind of uplift can work out for you. But also Neptune in your sign through to its first visit in the sign of Aries from the 27th of March next year, that's forging a magical link to Venus in the first half of this week. If someone's really catching your imagination, it could be a friend, it could be a performer, it could be a film, a TV series, but something that really triggers the light fantastic, that really can be turned up to max. So that's delicious too. But there can also be a very exciting conversation in the first half of this week as Uranus and Venus go into an opposition. But equally, there could be a little bit of a challenge. If you're in a relationship and it has started to run a little bit too much on the mundane side, rather caught up in routines, this aspect encourages you both to try to find ways to reignite the spark by doing something different and spontaneous. If you're single, it could see you connected to someone very, very quickly. Would it be lasting? Well, with Neptune forging that magical link to Venus, a spontaneous connection could lead to something more. Absolutely. But at the heart of this week, we have that full moon. If we go back to April, the solar eclipse was really pushing you in Aries to get the foundational aspects of your situation working well. Now that can be to do with your home, but also it can be to do with money, but your attitude to your own value and self-worth. However, the opposition with the Sun in the 8th house means if the balance of payments, the ins and outgoings in your situation isn't working very well, it may be time that you do need to in some ways readjust. But that's going to be difficult on this particular full moon because Mars is in a very impulsive part of your chart, urging you to actually live in the moment, enjoy socializing and connecting, and perhaps being a little bit more free and easy with your resources. But also because Pluto is more broadly feeding into this full moon, you do need to stay mindful of your future. So even if life is something of a ball and you're really enjoying lots of lively exchanges, if you are too free and easy with resources, it could see you ending the week with a little bit of a case of buyer's remorse. However, despite that, Mars feeds into a stunning link with Uranus as the week draws to a close. And if there is someone that you're encountering that's just really making your pulse race, just go with it, because essentially the sun in your 8th house is now released from its connection to Mercury, which moves into Scorpio at the start of the week. And if you're feeling that someone is truthful and seems to be compelling and honest, go with your gut feeling on it, because the 8th house can be where we get most invested and ultimately devoted. Few signs understand devotion like a Pisces person, but sometimes you can be very wary because of your past experiences, because you know when you give endlessly. But this is a full moon which asks you not to close that door. It's been a pleasure being with you, Pisces.